You know what? It's the evening. I'm pretty bored. It's time to play some video games.
5 hours later.
So you've come home after a long day's hard work, and you feel like you wanted to fire up your PC or console to play some video games to pass up the time. But after a couple of hours, you're just getting this real bad feeling inside of you. Your body might be telling you that you need to take a break, or life just hits you to the point where gaming has to take a back seat. It's always going to be there for you to play, but at the end of the day, whatever is most important for you takes priority. Or sometimes we probably need to clear the air a little bit and take some time out to refresh the mind a little bit. I'm going to be talking about when should you take a step back from playing video games. At what point do we say, yeah, I'm going to need to take a break and touch some grass because I didn't get enough vitamin D inside. And of course, don't be like that police officer who got caught playing his Switch on shift. Better yet, please subscribe to the channel and join my Discord. I've had something like this relatively recently. When I was extremely close to finishing Persona 3 Reload, my head just started spinning. Don't you just have that moment when you feel like you're extremely drunk in GTA 4 or feeling super sleepy in Bully? I had exactly that reaction. I felt extremely dizzy and I decided to sleep it off. I woke up, finished the game, and I didn't feel that dizzy, but it came back and it felt a lot worse for that the next few days. I'm gonna be real. If you're feeling dizzy, you just can't really concentrate trying to play video games at times. Even being in front of a screen, it just made it worse. So I decided to just take a break. It was a much needed rest after playing a game that lasted just over 80 hours. It was the first time in quite a long while where I decided to listen to my body and just avoid the screen. Vertigo is no joke. I couldn't even hold my balance trying to walk for a few days.
Dude, this fucking ear thing, I'm losing balance.
And
like
that money should go largely for new programs.
Dude,
and for
it's like I'm fucking.
Biden hasn't laid out exactly where all of this money would come from.
And quite recently I started Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but my progress has been really slow so far. As of right now, I've only just started Chapter 6. I've been extremely busy with things in my life as of late, that trying to play video games just seemed like an afterthought. I do think I'll always dedicate like a week or two to no life in the game, and taking some time out afterwards to at least give myself some space in between completing games. They're going to be there at least, ready for you to play any time. I just don't believe that you have to be pressured to just finish the game when you could just take time at your own pace. There's points where I've decided to stop gaming, where there were more important things going on in my life, but I'll always jump back in when I feel that I'm not that pressured about it. And I've always thought back that one time I just stayed off video games entirely for a while, because one game became such a slog that I just couldn't physically finish it. It was Far Cry 5. I remember buying that game from my local store, really having some high hopes, high expectations, after reminiscing about how good Far Cry 3 was. A police officer trying to stop a deranged cult. That's right up my alley, right? Well, I turned out to be incredibly wrong, because well into my playthrough I just got incredibly burnt out with the gameplay loop, and it was the first sign that I might not like Ubisoft's games after all. It's like a retail job disguised as a video game. I took a break for a week or two, and then I decided to jump back in with the perfect game to play, Titanfall 2. Now that's a good shooter. I've done more than enough to talk about my own experiences with taking a step back from video games and making sure that I prioritize about what's most important in my life. And that's not to say video games are bad at all. It's a hobby that I immensely love and enjoy on a regular basis, but there are times where you have to just take a step back and have a bit of a cool down away from those heated COD lobbies.
I didn't want that fucking juggernaut.
Do shit with it, that's the funny thing.
Full of fucking shit, man, shut up.
Now, if you're getting burnt out on a game or a certain series or genre, you probably need to hold off on playing them for a fair bit of time. Imagine the amount of tiredness and strain you're just gonna get from playing the same shit over and over again. You're just gonna get burnt out from doing so all the time. Imagine this, you're playing 4 Yakuza games and 3 GTA games back to back. After a while, are you seriously going to think that you're getting tired of playing those games after a while? Even the biggest fans of those games will tell you to cool on playing them, because most of them have the same fundamental gameplay. You can only play so much of the same game before you get burnt out eventually. Some games can be needlessly a slog to play through at some points. Ubisoft, without a shadow of a doubt, they are the biggest offender of this, because they're the games They're designed to keep you hooked on their bloated open world as much as possible, where they don't really have much respect for your time at all. Like I said earlier in the video, it's why I don't really like playing their games, but that's probably another video for another time. Now, there's another piece of advice I'd like to give when it comes down to managing your gaming time. Don't just immediately jump from one game to the next the second that you finished it, especially if you played games that last you a ton of time to play through. You need time to recharge off the screen, think about what game you're itching to play before you fully jump in. A good few days of resting before actually playing your next game really does help with being prepared for playing it. I mean, I've done this before and it's helped so much with being focused on specific titles. It's not the same with games that are more tightly designed where you can manage to jump onto one to the next, but longer titles need more time for you to fully prepare to be immersed by then. I just feel like that if you're trying to immediately start a game to play through as soon as you finished one, it just leads to getting burnt out a lot quicker, and it's the last thing that anyone would want to do when it comes down to trying to play video games, especially if you have a massive backlog. Like, yes, by all means, thinning down the list of games you want to play is one thing, but trying to rush it like it's a list, like it's a checklist or something like that, it's just not the way to go. It just turns gaming into a chore, and it's much better to just pick what you feel like playing. It's less of a hassle, and it just leaves you feeling like you can appreciate the game as something to relax to, something to enjoy. Video games are always going to be there for you to play. Just do not feel like it's an obligation for you to finish the game just because you bought it 5 years ago. I mean, I'll be honest, there's games that I've bought like 10 years ago and I still haven't touched them. I mean, I'll play them at some point, but I'm not going to like rush myself to like play them. I just play what I feel like in my mind would be really enjoyable for me to like do it in the moment. But this isn't something that a lot of people talk about, but whilst video games are fun, some people just do not know when to take a break. And you gotta realize at some point whether it gets to a point where it really affects your life negatively. I'm talking about like the ones who just do nothing but game all day and don't really take their time out to take a break, like taking a walk, getting some work done, being productive, or even doing other hobbies like watching a movie, reading books, going out with friends, or working out. There's a huge realization that video games, it's the one medium that requires a lot of your time to be focused on playing one game. But when it dominates every aspect of your life, I feel that that's when you have to consider taking a break. This isn't to just say, oh, stop playing video games entirely. It'll always be there for you to dip in and out. But if every waking moment of your life is dedicated to something at the expense of even basic things like taking care of yourself, relationships, or even like doing your work, then it's time to really take a step back. Everything is good when it's always consumed in moderation. Don't feel pressure to do your daily login rewards in Fortnite out of like fear of missing out or anything like that. And obviously, your health comes first. Don't be afraid to take a break. If something wrong has happened to you to the point where you can't really play, where you can't really focus on like having a good time at least, focus on like what's really important in your life, especially if your health is being affected. This topic kinda came about to my mind after the experience I went through and how busy I've been for the last few weeks. Compared to last year, I finished less games in general, and I just don't pressure myself to try and complete my backlog anymore. I just play what I feel is up my alley these days. But just in case you're really trying to focus on other things in your life, or if you're getting burned out on certain games, it's nice to recharge every once in a blue moon. I previously talked about this with my backlog video, why I eventually just stopped caring about trying to finish every game in my backlog, so please check the video out on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.